It is 104.3 The Fans pregame live. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason, and Mace is live in Empower Field at Mile High. Mace, first and foremost, how many Philip Lindsay jerseys did you see?
Honestly, none in my walk over here. I saw some blasts from the past. I saw an Ian Gold. I couldn't get my camera out because I was on the phone at the time. I saw Willis McGahee. I saw a Trevor Price. I've actually
Wow.
seen a couple of Al Wilsons today. So we're seeing some throwback material out there, but haven't seen a Philip Lindsay jersey yet. Now, got a Colt fan behind me. You can see an Andrew Luck there
Right.
behind me. There are some Colt fans here in the house, and seeing that Luck jersey just kind of reminds you of how this club is one that kind of is flailing about, trying to find its way since that unexpected retirement.
Yeah, and we'll see what they can do tonight against the Denver Broncos. What does the general mood seem to be like? Home game, obviously, fans are excited, but do you sense any sort of nervousness or trepidation from the home crowd?
Not really, no. I mean, actually, if anything, kind of looking at it for the early warm-ups, and again, it was very early. I think it's a little bit of a later arriving crowd, at least into the Stadium Bowl for early warm-ups than usual. But that's probably simply because it's a Thursday night game, and you've got a fair amount of people that were getting off work and are going to make their way over here.
Yeah, make their way over to the stadium and then watch the Broncos take on the Indianapolis Colts. What is the end result tonight, in your opinion? We're just going to cut right to the chase. We've talked about it so much on Orange Blue today. I'm just ready for game day, baby. So, what do you think happens tonight?
It's a grinded out game that maybe we're going to forget about pretty quickly. I think Broncos get a workman-like 20-10 win. If they get more than 20, it'll happen because they get a defensive or special teams touchdown, something you and I talked about, the possibility of that over on Orange and Blue today earlier. You can watch that at our 104.3 The Fan YouTube channel. But I'm not going to bet on a defensive or special teams touchdown. So that's why I'm going to say 20-10.
Yeah, and if it's an ugly game, then we have to go into special teams, not just on the return side with Montreal, Washington, but also just the field position game. I think this is the type of game where it's going to be ugly, might be a slugfest, might be grinded out. That means field position more important than ever.
Yeah, and that's where Corliss Waitman's going to have another good game. He was great against the 49ers last home game. Had a solid game, could have been a little bit better against Las Vegas. Had that punt that is saying Bassey nearly down inside the 5-yard line last Sunday in Vegas. But Waitman's going to have to deliver. At least now you've seen that he can do it. You've seen that even if he has to have heavy workload as far as punters go, that he can win the field position battle for you. So if it's field position, frankly, Cecil, between what Waitman can do and the fact that we saw Montreal, Washington, and the punt return team able to capitalize off some low line drive kicks that outkick the coverage. I like the Broncos' chances if this is coming down to field position.
Yeah, if it's coming down to field position, advantage Broncos. If it's coming down to Russell Wilson, I'd say advantage Broncos as well, because even though Jerry Jeudy is much maligned, and I appreciate Alec Pierce, certainly he was a great target for Desmond Ridder in college, and those tight ends, which we'll talk about. But when you talk about Sutton and Jeudy and Hamler, more Hamler, please. I would love to see that. Those are targets that I appreciate more than what the Colts could trot out there, especially with Michael Pittman maybe blanked or, pretty much slowed down by Pat Surtain tonight.
Right, and it's a considerably easier matchup than the one Surtain had working against Davante Adams for a good chunk of snaps last Sunday. Now, that being said, if you're the Colts, you try to do what the Raiders did. You set up matchups that worked where you got Davante Adams in the coverage area for Jonas Griffith and Josie Jewell. I think if you're the Colts, you try to do that again. Try to set Pittman up to where he's in Josie Jewell's area, and then you let him and you let him make a cut, and you see what he can do in space. And that's that is my concern for the defense, Cecil. It's that Pat Surtain in this scheme only does but so much, and there are other ways to make sure that you get your number one target the ball just by being not even creative, but just being flexible in terms of how you use your top receiving targets.
Yeah, be flexible in how you're doing that. And when you're the Broncos defense, get ready for screen passes and drop plays. It's football 101. You've got tackle problems with the Colts. You've got pass rushers with the Broncos. Even without Randy Gregory, I think you're going to see drop plays with Phillip Lindsay, with Nyheim Hines, screen passes, probably mostly with Nyheim Hines, to try to slow down what the Broncos do from their rusher standpoint.
Yeah, and the draw plays take advantage of where the Colts are stout still, and that's on the interior of the offensive line. And the other thing about the draws is the Raiders made it work. I mean, if you're the Colts, you may have had most of this game plan drawn up before Sunday because that's how you attack Thursday Night Football. But if they were smart, I think they would have looked at what the Raiders did, and certainly in the last few days done some tweaks there, because until the Broncos show that they can diffuse things up the middle when you have a team that spreads them out like the Raiders did, I think you try to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and especially when you have a quarterback in Matt Ryan who's kind of that stationary target. So you've got defensive linemen and pass rushers who are just salivating, and they see that target, and, well, that guy can be kind of a decoy, and then, whoop, it's a drop play, and all of a sudden it's a shovel pass, something like that, where the rushers are going to get upfield, and it's going to create wide open space for Lindsey, Hines, whoever.
Right. At the same time, the tool that the Raiders did have in their chest that the Colts don't have is the quarterback taking off, because you mentioned Matt Ryan stationary in the pocket. One thing that helped the Raiders was that when the Broncos went more man, everyone was covered. Derek Carr just took off, and he reached the ball over the line to gain, got the first down. They moved on to the next series of downs. Colts don't have that luxury with Matt Ryan. It's going to make things a little bit easier on the back end.
Russell Wilson looked really good last week, even in a loss. What does he look like tonight?
Ooh, I think he'll look good. I think this is probably a game, and we've all discussed it. I think you let Russ cook a little bit in this one. I think you let him take some shots downfield. You mentioned KJ Hamler. I think you set up a chance for some deep shots off play action to KJ Hamler. I think I'd try that twice in this game. 2 deep posts to Hamler off play action. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and I'd love to see, when I talk about the problems with Nathaniel Hackett, and I broke that down for Mike Evans this morning on Schlereth and Evans, it's like, I want to see the echoes from this offense. This offense rhymes. I hate to quote George Lucas when talking about writing Star Wars, but there's rhymes to what you do as a storyteller. There's rhymes and callbacks is what you do as a play caller. We see it with Kyle Shanahan. Hell, we've seen it with Mike. Everyone remembers it with Mike, where you run that hook. Now it's a hook and go. Now it's 6 points. So I would like to see that taken advantage of with that deep speed, whether it's Sutton Judy or KJ Hamler. Take some of those shots.
Yeah, you got the personnel to do it. Take those chances. And look, another thing that we've seen is that when this offense gets behind the sticks, they can get out of it. There's no reason to not take some of these shots on 1st and 10, because 2nd and 10 is not out of reach for this offense. One of the things that you can really feel good about over the last 4 weeks is the fact that last year, whereas 2nd and 10 felt like a death sentence, all right, go tell Sam Martin, get ready to punt, you're going to be called on. It's not the case anymore. There's a much greater dynamic quality of this offense that allows them a better chance of getting out of 2nd and even 3rd and long yardage. So if you don't fear those situations, then you're not worried about the risk of putting yourself in them. Another reason why you take those shots.
Yeah, take those shots. And I think Melvin Gordon has a big night. I do. I think there's a lot of relief off of his shoulders. I think he has to. Maybe not has to have a big night. He definitely has to hang on to the rock. But I just believe with his motivation, with his skill set, again, we're not talking about a guy that lacks talent, but we're talking about a talented player that's backed into a corner. Now, he put himself there, okay? Personal responsibility and all. He put himself there. Now it's time to dig out, and this is where that redemption story you wrote about at denverfan.com could begin.
Yeah, and the other thing is he needs to stop worrying about what's around him, okay? They brought Latavius Murray in, that's fine. Stop worrying about Latavius Murray, and stop worrying about Phillip Lindsay 2 years ago, about Javonte Williams, about your reps being cut into. Just go and play, because here's the thing. If he goes out and plays well tonight, then let's say Melvin Gordon goes over 100 yards and he's 4 and a half, 5 yards of carry, and he has a touchdown. You know something? Melvin Gordon's running back one on Monday night in 11 days, even though Latavius Murray is going to be active. Latavius Murray is still a good, solid back, but he hasn't been a bell cow back, right? So he's been part of a platoon. So
right.
It's not like Latavius Murray, if he does well, is necessarily going to have 20 carries a game and Melvin Gordon's not active. So he needs to just play free tonight. He needs to, run free and play free. Play free from, kind of the nagging voices in your head, the voices that are making you think, I might fumble, like he admitted to a couple of years ago in week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. Got to get out of that headspace. If he does that, we know he's good enough. We know he's talented enough. We know he has good enough vision to do what you need to do in this offense.
What is it? Dr. Rick Perea always say, check up from the neck up. Like, Melvin Gordon, don't worry about it. Don't worry about Twitter. Don't worry about anything. Just go and play. You're good. You're good. And as remarkable as it seems, Mace, sometimes these alpha males that play football need to be reminded or remind themselves that they are actually good.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett has had kind of the Ted Lasso comparisons at time, but you know what? A little bit of that Ted Lasso positive reinforcement, psychological work would actually work on Melvin Gordon, I think. And that's where I think Nathaniel Hackett's mindset and perspective is probably going to be better for Melvin Gordon than, say, if Vic Fangio were around. I think that actually gives Melvin a shot of getting out of this funk that he finds himself in. But that being said, if there is a fumble tonight, if Melvin Gordon fumbles, I don't think you can put him back out there. I mean,
no. I would feel incredibly bad for him.
I would too. And I would absolutely feel awful for him. I have nothing but empathy for what Melvin's going through as a player right now. But if he fumbles, you can't put him out there in front of this crowd, which is going to turn on him. And sadly, it might well be the end. So Melvin's got to play like nobody's coming for his job. But at the same time, we kind of know from 35,000 feet what could happen. He can't think about that. He just has to focus on the next carry, holding on to the ball, and doing the things that he does best. Cut out all the noise, all the, don't listen, don't get on social media, don't listen to what we say, don't read anything. Just, I'm going to quote Bill Belichick here, do your job. And right now your job is simple. Run the ball, protect the ball.
Yep, that's it. We got 2 minutes left, Mace. We got to see anything from any tight end tonight. The Colts are weak against tight ends. They're weak against tight ends. So if you're Alberto Cuebanam and you wanted to do anything, tonight's the night, or you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll probably see the standard issue down the seam shot to Eric Saubert that Russell Wilson seems to like, right?
Mm-hmm,
we'll get one. We'll get one of those, right? Coming in play. Maybe Andrew Beck on a wheel route like we saw back in week 1, coming out of the backfield as a fullback. But Alberto, well, man, I feel like he's just a placeholder right now until Greg Dulcich gets up there and gets into the lineup. I mean, if the tight ends are healthy and Dulcich is back for the Charger game, if Alberto doesn't have a huge game, this might be the last we see of Alberto for a while.
It might be a healthy scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's not taking Tomlinson's reps. I don't think he's going to take Saubert's reps because of what he is all around. He's not going to take Beck's reps. I mean, if Dulcich is active, there's only one guy he's taking a spot from. And also another thing about that one guy he'd be taking a spot from is Alberto doesn't play special teams. I mean, how often do you see a guy only play one offensive snap other than a quarterback, and he gets 0 special team snaps? I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Mace, you got 20-10, is that right?
20-10, you?
I got 24-14. I got a Broncos win. We shall see. Enjoy the game, Mace. Appreciate you checking in. And, of course, you'll be out there tweeting and writing and all that kind of stuff. Check out our work at denverfan.com. He is Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey. We got Halftime Chill. We got our post-game show. We got you covered right here. We are The Fan. It's 104.3 The Fan's pregame live for the great Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.